All right. Good morning, trader. It is 6 a.m. Wednesday, April 21st. Sorry I missed you guys yesterday morning. Man, I had some sleep to catching up on. I slept like 15 hours yesterday, which is definitely not the usual for me. So I apologize for being gone yesterday, but yeah, man, yesterday was a wicked day. So, if you've been following my channel at all, you'll know that I called out last Thursday the fact that we were way overbought, or at least I felt we were overbought on the S&P, and basically that I felt like we were way overdue for a pullback, and that couldn't have been more true, at least, based on the market behavior. So if we look on the daily chart on the S&P, so this is where we closed at. Let's see, this would have been what, Monday right here, I believe. And then we had Tuesday and then yesterday. So clearly very big sell off. One thing I wanted to point out, I mean, basically, I was there were a couple things that played into that decision making process or that interpretation. Bear with me, I'm getting my little drawing tool up here. Just 1 second. Well, in any event, okay. So one thing that I was seeing was basically the fact that we were going up on such low volume. Like, we had a couple days with really big spikes up in here. We had this, a couple days of this tight, rangy type activity. And, whoops, I did not expect that to take out all my windows. Sorry about that. Just tried pulling my drawing tool over and all of a sudden it tweaked out on me. Come on. Yes, and my NQ chart. Okay, there we go. All right. So, like I said, the fact that we are grinding up on real low volume, most of these days we're at or just below a million contracts traded, which for the S&P futures is really low. So we were already overbought. And anyways, and then we basically we had like 16 or 17 consecutive days where we never closed below the prior day's low, which is really abnormal just in itself. And the fact that this is the monthly VWAP right here, and we were, between 1 and 2 standard deviations on the monthly VWAP for, like three weeks basically of trading. So that was basically why I was expecting such a big pullback, and I hope you guys were able to capitalize on that fairly well the last couple days. So in any event, if we look at the action from yesterday, so yesterday was I don't even know if I'd really call this a trend day per se. All the real activity took place within the first like 2 hours. So it was almost more like a normal variation day or a normal day or something like that. Like I said, I woke up yesterday around like 8:30 Pacific time, and all the activity was basically done. So really clear, big sell-off, and then we just accumulated a ton of volume near the low. So we know that there's a lot of people positioned in this area, so it just begs to question whether or not these shorts are going to continue to hold in here, or if they're going to start taking profit, or what exactly. The only attempt we made to break up into this low volume node up in here was reversed with quite a bit of strength. So that tells me that the people that are positioned in this area are still interested in defending it. And then the immediate trend, like the most recent activity you can see, is definitely bearish because we came down pretty strong from the high. So right now, as it stands, I'm pretty neutral. If we look at the other indexes, like take the Nasdaq over here on the left, for instance, you can see that we broke out of yesterday's low, and then we started to trade back inside of yesterday's value area. And most of the time when that happens, when the market goes from imbalance and then quickly back into balance, I I'm often looking for a reversal that day. Um, that has something to do with it's something called the value area rule. And basically, what it states is anytime you break outside the prior day's range and then trade back inside of it, you have an 80% probability of actually going all the way through the prior day's value area, which would be right there, basically. So, we'll see what happens today. Right now, I'm fairly neutral, but I'm leaning on the more bullish side of that. If you look at the Dow this morning and the Russell 2000, like this is the Russell right here, for instance, and you can see that the value area is slightly overlapping and higher, just very, very slightly, maybe by a tick. And then the Russell 2000 looks pretty much the same. So I tend to I pretty much tend to trade in the direction that value is moving for the most part. So that's my bias for today. I'm primarily neutral, but a little bit more bullish. But you know, after a really big sell-off like that, you tend to just kind of have more of like a quiet, you know, low volume, choppy kind of day. We are likely going to be opening up within the value area. And anytime you open up in value, basically it's just saying that sentiment hasn't changed. So we're likely to get more of a low volume rotational day. And the market's likely to be kind of quiet after this really big sell off. So that is my bias today, is just maybe going to be in scalping mode. So in any event, since we got plenty of time here, we still got another 20 minutes or so before the market opens. Let's go through some equities here. And yeah, if you guys have anything you want me to take a look at, please throw it in the chat to keep this interesting. I often don't have enough time to really go through a whole lot of equity setups and do my futures analysis at the same time. So the more you guys can bring stuff to the table, the more it keeps it interesting. Okay, so wow, I did not know that Bitcoin sold off again. That's pretty wild. Okay, so when Bitcoin had first sold off, when it broke the 60K level and then started to trade back inside the previous range quite a bit, it was around the 50. It was right around here that I called out the reversal. So I think it was like right when we were about at the top of this box right here. I thought this is a pretty decent buy point, and I had seen it getting up to around 60,000, and then that's where supply really started to come in substantially. You can see that I had this older trend line right here. We bounced right at it. If I switch to, oh, that's a 5 minute. Hold on, let me pull up a 1 hour. Okay, that's better. I was wondering why that range looks so big. Okay, so Bitcoin right here is mostly just kind of oscillating. VMW. Yeah, you got it. And what's up with Dell? I haven't heard anything on that yet. So anyways, here on BTC, you can see we basically just have a symmetrical triangle. So just something like that. And more often than not, I tend to treat these as continuation patterns. I mean it's hard to say, basically. I really think that the long-term players in the crypto market are likely to buy this dip. So it's I have a hard time seeing us drop here. But we'll just kind of need to see what happens in the price action. But ultimately, I'd be looking for a breakout and for us to come back up and retest the 60,000 level on this. So, but right now it's just, you know, we've got sellers. Basically, people are just playing this range. So there's not really an advantage. If you're gonna play this, just make sure you're getting in at the lows, and maybe considering taking a little off at the high, just in case it fails to break out. But when you're playing in a tight range like this, your entry becomes increasingly more important. Like if you get caught in the middle, I mean you're taking on way more risk than you need to on the trade. So, anyways, if it were me playing this, I would just let it come up, retest that trend line, look for another pullback, and yeah, I mean, if it holds with strength in the middle, and you can see it really starting to rally, and you don't think it's going to hit that lower channel line, I'd say go for it. Well, I'm speaking personally. I'm not saying you go for it. Can't recommend anything on an individual basis, but anyways, yeah, I still think 60K is on the table. Put it that way. Okay, so let's see what's going on Palantir here. And this is looking mostly bearish still. We still have this weak low, and I'm surprised it hasn't been taken out yet. But yeah, yesterday it didn't really look like it moved a whole lot. But basically, like I said, the more times you bang on a key level, the more likely it is to break. Yeah, you got it. I can bust out Doge. Anyway, so Palantir here has the potential for a decent breakdown. All right, let's pull up VW, or what was it, VMW? That was the first one, and then we'll bust out Doge. Okay, so VMW. This thing is looking clearly strong. The only thing that concerns me is that this last pullback was a real strong one. You can see that we gapped down right here. So gaps are going to be created by larger players, and it's new, and it's generally is new business, not old business coming in. But yeah, it's larger players that are typically responsible for gaps. That's why I like to trade in the direction of them. So basically, I have a hard time believing that this is going to rally and start going back up again. If I had to put my money in a certain direction, I would more likely be on the short side and be looking for a breakdown, something more of like a mean reversion back to the 100 or 200 moving average, something like that. This is a 200, that's a 100, and we're on a 1 hour chart. On VMW, I mean, sure, yeah, it's a very healthy trend. I mean, you can see that there's quite a bit of momentum here, so people are likely to come back in, I would imagine. Yeah, I think it'd be a great re-entry. Let's look at the 4 hours so we can kind of get a better picture. Yeah, and when you look on the higher time frame, it looks even more extended, but yeah, I mean, you're still fairly early in the trend. This thing looks really healthy and predictable. And yeah, I think getting back in somewhere around this level where this previous pivot high was, you can see we have this pivot here. It was resistance here. A lot of confluence right here. So I think this would be a pretty good area for it to bounce right here around 156.25 or so. Yeah, no problem. All right, let's take a look at Doge. All right, so here we are. Now, TradingView is weird because it has a bunch of different exchanges on here. So I don't know. Okay, Binance or, yeah, let's try Binance. I mean, does this look right to you? What are you guys seeing for the current price on Doge? So Binance is showing it at 31. Yeah, about 31 cents. Does this look right to you guys? TradingView is weird like that. I don't trust it. I thought it was a lot higher. I thought it was higher than this for some reason. Hey, what's up, Wandering? Yeah, that was the first one was Bitrex. This is the Binance chart. Yeah, do you guys watch the crypto space on TradingView? Does anyone have a good recommendation for which exchange I should be looking at? 31.3. Okay, good. All right, so it is. Yeah, so it's basically right. So yeah, I mean, it's just neutral. I mean, you have lower highs here and then you have higher lows here. It's just neutral, you know? I mean, it's more of a flag on a, you know? So eventually I think you could look for the break, but yeah, it's hard to say for the moment. One thing that's worth pointing out is look how much lower volume is versus over here, which is kind of to be expected. But the question in my mind is like, is it going to sustain this level? Which would be fine. As long as it sustains it, it's probably okay. But if it continues to drop even more, then this thing will probably just be a a fat reversal. So, anyways, yeah, there's not really much of an advantage here, to be honest, unless you're just playing the range. But if you're buying the dips, you know, you can kind of build up a pretty decent position at these levels, you know, maintain a fairly tight stop, and then look for a break. I would imagine it's gonna retest 50 cents at a minimum, but who knows, you know. Doge is weird. It's not, you know, some of these like GameStop and AMC and this you can't really trade it like a normal stock that's traded by rational people cuz you just can't. All right, we got 10 minutes till the open here, guys. Bought in at 336, waiting for it to go up to make something. Yeah, no probs. Yeah, I mean, you're like right near the POC of this range. If you can, like, lower your cost basis at all a little bit, you know, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I don't know how much you have into it either, but dang, nice entry on that. Good for you. Jesus. So for you to have gotten in at a nickel is man, good for you. I'm curious when you bought it, when you got in though, and for how much. Because to have any decent amount of money, that's just, I mean, this thing just kind of sat at a nickel for the longest time. So I'm just wondering how long you held it for, and how much capital did you have tied up before it you know took off. I mean, that's for your yeah, 2200 for having got in at oh, you guys are sorry, I just noticed that was a different person. So a cost basis is like, you know, say you're trading you know, the spies or something, and so you got in right here for, and I'm just gonna come up with random numbers for like $25 or something, and you got in at a bad spot, you know, because it was right at the inflection point. Well, you can lower your cost basis, meaning like your cost per share, so to speak, by adding some size a little bit lower. And normally I would never recommend adding to a losing trade. I think that's a really personal decision, and it I mean, I don't know. You've just got to be able to base it on what you're seeing in the moment, I guess. Typically, I don't like adding to losers. That being said, though, like if it's something that's relatively stable, and you know, so like say if you have a trend line right here, and if you add at that point, you know, you're not gonna get stopped out by very much because it's just gonna go like that far or something. So as long as you're playing it smart, I don't think adding, at a lower cost is a bad thing, especially when it's in a very predictable range like that. So yeah. All right, guys. So we got 7 minutes till the open. Let's take a peek at what the futures are doing again before I get out of here. So fairly good selling momentum here, but we are retesting this low volume node in this area. That's the low volume node I'm referring to on the volume profile. So I guess we'll see what happens here if the people that shorted late in the session yesterday are going to short again, and we're going to take out the yesterday's low, or if all the people that got long during the London session here are likely to buy us back up. The only thing that I will say is notice the point of control right here. The point of control is weighted to the downside by quite a bit. So we can see that there's way more volume that was accumulated above the POC than below the POC. Not trying to make this look phallic. Anyways, so if you think about it, like the people that are wanting this to go down is basically everybody that shorted up here and from yesterday up in here. The people that might be wanting it to go up are the people that bought this dip, and then these guys that bought down here. And we know that there's way more volume there's way more volume, way bigger size on the sell side right now than the buy side. So that's the only thing that leads me to believe that we might get a breakdown. So I'm just reading the chat here. Anyways, yeah, and then the Nasdaq's looking really, really neutral though. I mean, just you can see when you have a profile that is like a perfect D shape like that. It's normally you only want to trade a profile like that outside in. So you're buying the lows and then you're selling the highs, and you just do it over and over and over again. So, yeah, I for the most part, I'm not expecting any really big waves today. I'm just kind of expecting it to be choppy. We're opening up in the value area. Anytime you're opening up in value, it's usually really choppy because it basically is saying that sentiment hasn't changed. So I'll probably, on days like today, it's a really good day just to wait an hour after the open to see which side is dominating and then trade in that direction. But usually when there's low confidence right at the open, it's just chop. It's a good day to just go get a cup of coffee and kick back until the market gets some direction. So anyways, we got 4 minutes here, guys. I'm gonna take off. I wish everybody the best of luck today, and yeah, hope you guys made some money the last couple days. I tried calling that stuff out last Thursday. I said it was I said it was coming, so I hope somebody listened. But all right, guys. Well, thanks again so much for tuning in. I will be on tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time. And again, wish you the best of luck. Take care.